In a time of universal deceit, telling the truth is a revolutionary act. George Orwell. Yeah. This is Blood Politics. The only podcast where we don't talk about politics. We be about politics. And our mission statement is to empower, educate, and encourage everyone to speak out against fascism. Speak out against injustice and fight for freedom and equality for everyone. This is Blood Politics. And we ain't stopping till they put us in the grave. We ain't gonna be quiet. And we ain't gonna be scared. And we ain't gonna go along with the crowd. This is Blood Politics.
All right, what do you say, guys? What do you say? What do you say? What do you say? It is Wednesday, and we're going to get right into it. Welcome back to the program. I appreciate you for joining me. You guys know what to do right off the bat. Make sure you hit that like button, subscribe to the channel. Shout out to everybody on this space. Thank you to the mods. Thank you to Matt for including me into this coalition. And then obviously thank you guys to the best chat in the history of social media right here at Blunt Politics, and obviously the mods that keep us safe. Make sure that chat can continue to scroll down there. I appreciate you guys. What do you say we bring you guys in for a little hello there, a little screen time that you guys deserve? Say hi to everybody that makes this show go and grow. And I appreciate you guys every single day for doing that. Jeff, what's going on, my man? What's up, Dame? How are you? What's up, Yakov? Hope everything's all right, my friend. Same thing with Masha. Sorry, you guys, having to make the hospital trips today, but we'll be right here with you. If you need anything, you just let us know. What's going on, Deb? How are you guys? What's up, Ask? Appreciate you guys for being here. What's up, Twiggy? What's up, Frisky? Appreciate you guys. What's up, Sarah? What's up, what's up, Andrea? How are you? TK, Evie's aunt, Flipper, El Rondo. Let's go. What's up, moms? Tina, Alyosha, I see you over there on Twitch, my friend. Big salute to you as well. Thank you to everybody on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, Twitch, Substack. Like I said, you guys know what to do. We're an independent channel with no ad reads. We have no outside sources making this possible. It's literally just with the help and the generosity and support of you guys here at the chat. And obviously the people that watch this afterwards, if you guys could share, subscribe, like, all of the things that are free. Doesn't cost you a dime to do anything. And again, over there on Twitch, if you do have an Amazon Prime account, you can utilize that to become a member of the channel, and it doesn't cost you anything. It's free to do so. So if you guys want to utilize that, you can. And like I said, I appreciate you as I get the housekeeping notes out of the way. Yeah, well, I try. I don't really like this part of the whole thing, but, it is what it is as far as that's concerned. But it is June 24th. It is Wednesday. Like I said, we got 1 hour to go through the craziness, the news. We're going to hop into a little bit of Donald Trump's meltdown this morning, canceling the housing bill that was basically set up, ready to go. They had the stand up. They had the seats. They had the media, press gaggle, ready to rock and roll. And because Donald Trump is a petulant child who wants to just be able to steal our elections, as well as give Republicans ample power to do the same thing for generations to come through his SAVE Act. He's not happy with that. So again, he's taking it out on the rest of us. It was a bipartisan housing bill, I will have you know as well. But what do you say we start off with a little bit of 75%? You guys are going to ask yourself, well, what the hell does he mean by 75%? Well, 75% is what we just hit of our NAFO campaign, our goal. So thank you, Judy. Thank you, George. Good to see you, my friend. What's up, Jorge? I see you down there. Thank you, Roxanne, and everybody else that makes this possible. Because like I said, I'm under no illusions. I am not, demented enough or delusional enough to suspect or think that our reach here is much bigger than it is. So I am blown away every single day to see what we are capable here of at Blunt Politics, and you guys, especially there in the community, and everybody watching this that shares this out, contributes $1, $2, $5, $10. A lot of people contributing a lot more than that to this. And it blows me away every single day to see this. But like I said, congratulations to you guys for hitting 75% of our NAFO goal with the Help 99 Sniffing Brigade, the 69 Sniffing Brigade, to help raise €20,500 to help go towards the 3rd Operational Battalion, the artillery platoon heading in the Lipsy direction. And again, every single vehicle goes directly to help save lives. right? I mean, there's no question about it. We've seen time and time again the videos from the frontline soldiers that are just so appreciative and thankful for all of these private donations and YouTube channels that are making these things possible, with Help 99 and Cars for Ukraine, United 24, all of the different smaller creators that are putting these things together. All goes to add up to a pretty substantial contribution to this war effort. So again, a huge thank you for the 118 donations, now at 15,446 euro, which I believe is $17,500-ish in USD. So again, nothing to shake a stick at. Definitely not a small contribution by any sense of the word. And again, it's amazing to see, and it's an honor and a privilege to be a part of this. And we continue to start off the show, every single show, with letting you guys know how well you did every single night. So here you can see on the wall, Kay, thank you so much. Thank you, Anthony, as well. Let's see here. Michael, Brenda, Kenneth, Robert, Jeremy, Kim, Roxanne, Richard, Vasil, Olena, Gregory, Arthur, Thomas, Philippe, Colleen, MJ, Hugo, Dame Dog in the chat there, Moms in the chat there, Rocks in the chat there, right? We got one from Alicia. Thank you. This one was on behalf of the entire Blunt Politics family. Tom and Victoria, thank you so much. And again, everybody else, like I said, Yakov for what you've done, Nancy for your contributions, and everybody else that's made this possible and made it worthwhile for not only this community, but for others like the Help 99 and the 69 Sniffer Brigade to look at us and say, hey, we could utilize them. We could utilize his passion. We could utilize his platform, and we could do some good with this. And it's only with your help and you guys continuing to hit that subscribe button and, making our push to 25K. That's going to help continue to make us more visible, right? To help, not only if it's people to interview on the show, but, different organizations to be affiliated with, all of the things, all of the doors that open up where the subscriber base continues to grow. And it's with your help that we'll continue to do that. So again, a big shout out to Help 99, a big shout out to the boys over there at the 69 Sniffer Brigade for including us in this, for giving us the honor and the privilege to make this happen. And like I said, I still think we have the best patches in the game. I know I'm a little bit biased in that regard, but come on. I mean, tell me these aren't the best in there. So again, congratulations on 75%. Big milestone hit there in under 3 weeks, right? In under 3 weeks for a channel of less than 25,000 subscribers to be able to produce something like this, I feel is incredibly substantial, and you guys deserve all the credit. And I will be here to give you all that credit. All right, let's start off with, like I said in the opening there, a little bit of Donald Trump's meltdown that he's having, where he just outright canceled today's housing news conference that was supposed to be the signing of the housing bill there, the bipartisan housing bill. I believe it was Elizabeth Warren and Tim Scott, if I'm not mistaken. Let me throw this on your screen real quick, because this was just a few posts regarding the matter. This was Amanda Coppin. She says he's already calling it a national emergency because we won't let him take over the elections. This is not good. And she puts that on top of an Aaron Rupar post where he says, wow, Trump is crashing out, quote, today's housing news conference and signing is hereby canceled until such time as we can pass the desperately needed Save America Act, which I consider to be a national emergency. Thank you for your attention to this matter, President DJT, which again is just showing his selfishness, right? If it's not something that's going to directly benefit him, if he's not getting everything that he wanted, then be damned the people of this country, be damned anybody that would have seen some benefit from this housing bill. And we have a little bit here, just in case you're not familiar. Let me throw this on the screen here. This is the Time. This is from Time by Connor Green here, just detailing a little bit of what was in this, what was supposed to be in this. And then we have, after this, we'll go on, because people are pointing out, the constitutional fact that this has 10 days. Like if he doesn't sign this within 10 days, then it automatically becomes law anyway. So we'll go over all the back and forth and what's likely to come from this. But obviously what's really clear is the tantrum and how Donald Trump, the president of this fucking country, doesn't give a goddamn shit about who he affects, who he hurts, what hardships he places upon the people of this country. And again, what minute little bit of work could actually be done to help in just this one area of housing, right? So let's just go through a little bit of what would have been in it. And again, if if Donald Trump didn't cancel that. So this says here, Congress has passed a sweeping bipartisan housing bill that could help boost the U.S. housing supply and lower costs for millions of renters and buyers across the country. Now, just as a general statement there, a first paragraph, sounds like something that you'd like to see happen, right? I'm sure there's some bad things. I'm sure there's some things that we could call out. I'm sure there's some things that we could say could have been done much better, ways that we can expand on it. But right there, lowering the cost of millions for millions of renters and making it more easily readily available these houses, right, for people that want to access the houses across the country. So the U.S. housing supply and lowering the rent for millions in this country sounds like a step in the right direction, right? We have a lot to work on. We have a lot to fucking handle and a lot of problems to solve in this country. But at least it sounds like we're stepping forwards instead of backwards, right? And like I said, it goes on here to say the House passed the 21st Century Road to Housing Act 358 to 32 on Tuesday after the Senate approved the measure 85-5 a day earlier. It now heads to Donald Trump's desk, which again, we just reported. This was an earlier kind of recounting of what was in the bill. So this doesn't take into account Donald Trump's statements this morning in canceling this. Congressional leaders released a bicameral compromise version of the bill last week after earlier iterations passed the Senate in March and the House in May with overwhelming support from lawmakers on both sides of the aisle. Quote, this is a very rare occurrence to have successive bipartisan votes across both chambers on both versions of this bill, and it finally seems to be reaching the finish line. Francis Torres, Housing and Infrastructure Director at the Bipartisan Policy Center, told Time ahead of the bill's House passage, this bill is the most serious that Congress has gotten about housing reforms in generations. This legislation, which has been led by, Senator Elizabeth Warren of Massachusetts and Tim Scott of South Carolina, again, bipartisan, and Reps Maxine Waters of California and French Hill of Arkansas in the House, which is, again, hilarious considering he had a little press conference this morning with Mike Johnson, and they were praising this and saying how wonderful it was without actually knowing that apparently Donald Trump at the same time simultaneously was saying that this was canceled, that it wasn't going to happen. So just making these idiots look like dickbags in front of everybody. But he doesn't care, right? Neither do they, because they go on to defend Donald Trump's canceling of this. It also goes on to say that among a host of 50 provisions, it seeks to remove barriers from building homes, lowering housing costs, and shifts greater control over housing to the local level. This bill reflects years of work and priorities from the White House, Senate, and House to build a housing affordability package that puts families first, increases supply, expands access to affordable housing, and addresses the housing crisis. Scott and Warren said in a joint statement after the Senate passed the legislation, today's bipartisan vote is an important step towards addressing American housing affordability crisis and giving families across the country a fair shot at American dream. Here's what to know about the bill and how it could impact the U.S. housing market. It says one of the bill's biggest goals is to increase the U.S. housing supply, which it seeks to do through a variety of different approaches. For one, the bill could streamline environmental reviews in an effort to speed the processing of constructing homes. It would also mandate that the Department of Housing and Urban Development offer guidance on how communities could best reform zoning and land use policies to reduce barriers of housing development. This bill would just provide a lot of guidelines around best practices and specifically pattern books for how local jurisdictions can reduce design and approval costs and other red tape process for housing developers, particularly small developers, Torres says. Another provision of the bill would expand the definition of manufactured housing, a change that Torres says would, quote, unlock a segment of the housing market and make it cheaper and easier to mass produce such homes, which are built entirely in factories before being transported to their sites. I'm sure you guys have seen in your travels some of these homes going down the road. Still, other portions of the bill would provide various grants and loans aimed at supporting the development of new housing or the improvement of the already existing properties, including rebuilding aging homes and converting vacant buildings into housing. Additionally, it increases certain banks' public welfare investment cap, allowing them to invest more in low-income and affordable housing communities. Beyond seeking to bolster the supply, the legislation also aims to help more Americans rent and buy homes. For instance, it would create a program aimed at making small dollar mortgages, which help buyers obtain lower cost homes more accessible. It would additionally seek to help veterans access potentially housing opportunities. And perhaps the most controversial of the various changes it would make, the bill would also restrict the number of single family homes large institutional investors can own and require them to report how many such properties they control, with the goal of promoting home ownership opportunities for American families rather than corporations. So again, All seems like good things, steps in the right direction. Obviously, nothing that's going to completely, transform or do a 180 as far as the crisis and the problems that we're now facing. But again, the things that we're reading, the things that were listed in the legislation that we just went over, obviously a step in the right direction. But Donald Trump, again, doesn't seem to give a shit as he put out this statement like we just put up there. Today's housing news conference and signing is hereby canceled until such time as we pass the desperately needed Save America Act. And as was stated here, he's basically calling it a national emergency because we won't let him take over the elections. And it goes on here because most people are pointing this out as well. It says here, to be clear, Trump has no leverage here. If he doesn't sign the housing bill within 10 days, it automatically becomes law. If before then he vetoes that, Congress has the votes to override the veto. Right. So, again, addressing Jake Sherman's post here, talking about Trump's post, canceling that. As he says, the stage is set in the Capitol. There were people there. The chairs were there. The microphones were there. The podiums were there for this signing and the celebration. And, the Republicans are ready to actually tell people for the first time. And I don't know how long that, they managed to take a step in the right direction for the American people. But now, because Donald Trump is so selfish and cowardly and intent on ruining our election process, he is, again, not even affording the Republicans that we're going to get some slight victory, at least propaganda-wise, at least touting to the American people, hey, look what we did. We worked with Democrats and produced this. They're not even going to get that, or Donald Trump doesn't want them to get that, apparently. But as it says here, we talk about if he doesn't sign it within 10 days, it automatically becomes law. If before then, he decides to veto it, it seems like Congress has the votes to override that as well. But I just wanted to see if there was anybody else quote tweeting this. Anybody else had any things to say about this as well? Art of the deal, a dumbass. Let's see here. The drama, President Trump canceling. Some of the Republicans online, the propagandists on Twitter, are jumping for joy about this. They're just really, really happy that this took place. They can't explain to you why they're happy that this took place, but they are. But let me just see here if there was anybody else quote tweeting these. Head for the hills. Good Lord, refusing to sign a bipartisan bill that will help people over his trash voter suppression bill that will never pass. What a dick. Trump is saying there will be no money for affordable housing until he can rig elections. Again, a lot of people seem to, immediately recognize what this is all about. Fuck this so much. This fucking sick, so fucking sick of these fucking idiots running this country. Like, for real, get them the fuck out of there. And again, I think I probably relate to that post more than any other post. If you've watched the show, you know. If you know, you know. The toddler is throwing a temper tantrum. So again, people recognizing right here what Donald Trump is up to. Trump is such a petty, scared bitch. He's already calling it a national emergency. Oh, that's Amanda Carper. That's the one that we just talked about. He considers it a national emergency because he knows Republicans are going to get wiped out in the midterms, and he'll be held accountable for all of his crimes. He considers it a national emergency because it's the only way Republicans can retain power past November. So again, this isn't kind of, going over the heads of too many people. Save the Pedo Act. Good Lord, people reacting to this. Grandpa said, fuck y'all that don't own a home through a social media post. We are not a serious country. Republicans like Thune wanted to hold the housing bill up as a bipartisan win that could focus on affordability. Trump defecating all over it. Like I was just saying, a lot of these, Republicans were hopeful that they could get some sort of victory out into the public eye where there's just kind of been nothing but negativity, negative coverage between, the lack of work the House and the Senate has been doing. Again, all of the destruction that Donald Trump and his administration is responsible for, the Iran war, Greenland, like everything else that the getting terrible and shit coverage of. They were desperate. They were really desperate to get some sort of victory or to go out in front of these cameras and out on Fox News and OAN and RSBN and Newsmax and all of these fucking places to sit there and say how hard they've been working for the American people and that, look, even Elizabeth Warren agrees. Like, you can already hear them saying that. But again, Donald Trump, like one of the guys said here, shitting all over that. And I think there was a couple more of these as well. No, that might be it for the, let me throw this back on the screen here. I think that might be it for at least Donald Trump's little meltdown that he has. I'm assuming that there's going to be more clips out there of, media asking people their thoughts on this and asking Republicans their thoughts on this. But again, just before we got on here, this is kind of where we were as far as the reporting was concerned. So that is the news of this morning. This is also something that people are talking about is the ongoing debacle with the reflecting pool. I know we spoke about this yesterday for a little bit, but apparently apparently now the evidence has been released, guys. You guys will not believe this. The evidence has been released, and it wasn't it wasn't in the, it wasn't at midnight. It wasn't in the dark of the night that Freddy Krueger and his fucking, box cutting assassins crept into the reflecting pool and cut a 200 or 350 foot fucking slit right down the middle. No. Nope, you'll be surprised. We're going to show you the video that was on Jesse Waters' program, Jesse Waters' show. And even he says he has to stipulate that he can't confirm anything that he's showing. But just wait till you see what they're showing. But this is Donald Trump here being questioned about the Department of the Interior and whether or not they have the video. And this is him talking about how, again, he thinks that somebody went in and with a knife cut a 350-foot slit in the bottom of the reflecting pool. Meanwhile, the sides are crumbling. There's been a lot of like scientific studies and people that know their shit about these, about the science and the products that were added to the pool. And, there's actually pictures that you can see where, if you some of the more recent pictures after they dumped the hydrogen peroxide in the pool, it was almost like there was like a blue ring around it where you could see the hydrogen peroxide really hadn't been filtered through the entirety of the pool, but was just kind of staying in place throughout the edges. And that high concentration of that hydrogen peroxide, a lot of people with knowledge of the matter are speculating that went in to help like degrade the rubber, help degrade the bottom of the pool itself, which is leading to more of the peeling, more of the cracking and stuff. Obviously, we've talked about the algae problem as well. But I just want to play this real quick clip where he's questioned about the video that he stipulated the Department of the Interior was going to release. All the media had to do was question them and ask them and call them, and they'd send it right out. And this guy, whoever's questioned him, and says that they haven't shared anything with us, which I believe made them extremely desperate to then put this out, right? I'm sure they were desperate behind the scenes, struggling mightily to try to find some sort of video evidence, some sort of fucking photographic evidence to detail or make it seem like somebody was in there slicing and dicing the bottom of the pool up, or, bringing a backpack full of algae and dumping it into the pool because there was no algae to begin with. You know what I mean? But we'll go over this. This is a post by Nick Sorter, posting a clip of Jesse Waters' dumbass, trying to tell us about the little piece of video evidence that he has. But before that, let's play this quick clip of, again, Donald Trump being asked about this video evidence.
Well, you mentioned yesterday that the Interior Department has video and photos. We reached out to them and they haven't shared it with us. Are you going to compel them to release it?
They've arrested, I think, 6 people on the reflecting pool. So the reflecting pool looks fantastic. I just got pictures of it. It's beautiful. But somebody went in with a knife and cut it. They cut it up good. And then they cut a 350-foot slip.
Sorry, did they cut it good or did they cut it violently? I thought it was a violent cut job, right? It was a violent box cut job, Freddy Krueger style. Now he's saying it was a good cut job, apparently.
The form of lots of little slips, a real horrible stuff, and they destroyed the grass. We put a brand new big load of grass out there. They destroyed it. So it's all being fixed. But
a load of grass, destroyed that big load of grass that we put out there, with the letters, guys. Remember the other day he called them letters, even though they were numbers. 8647 is what somebody put into the lawn that he's talking about there. But there he is again, continuing this propagandistic, conspiratorial bullshit about a 350-foot-long slice by a box cutter in the middle that they clearly have evidence to suggest. But then Donald Trump went on Truth Social and said it was probably in the dead of the night, which told everybody else that he didn't have evidence to prove what he was talking about. But again, they scrambled behind the scenes and they put together some sort of evidence, and they put like a little dot on it, and they do a little zoom in, and they darken everything else, but they highlight the little person there. You can't see shit. You can't tell what they're doing. Again, it could be one of the thousands of people that have just gone in there and either touched a piece of the floating rubber or, again, picked up some of the algae that was floating in the water, or picked up a scoop of the water just to see the color. Like, thousands of people have done that. Like, to the point now, we've gotten to the point where they're now fencing off the reflecting pool. I shit you not. They're fencing off the reflecting pool to try to get everybody to believe that there's some like huge problem of sabotage and people doing shit to it. It's crazy. It really is. It's crazy at this point. But this is, like I said, Nick Sorter posting. Jesse Waters says a video has been released of suspected vandals destroying the lining of the Lincoln Memorial reflecting pool. Trump derangement syndrome seems to be a brain-eating disease. This is insane. This particular incident took place on June 19th. Now even New York Times is admitting 2 170-foot blade cuts have been found. Throw the book at them. And again, when was this finished? Was it the 8th? I believe it was finished. So we've already seen degradation far before then, but all of a sudden now on the 19th, they think they found like the smoking gun. And wait till you see the smoking gun. Here's just a quick clip of Jesse's show that he was playing here.
But the left, party poopers. And Primetime's got the tapes. The
There you go,
Department of
guys.
Interior
Here it
gives
is.
a look at individuals suspected of vandalizing.
Again, how many people? There's more people around this guy right now than, I don't know, at some of Donald Trump's press conferences, for Christ's sakes. Look at how many people are around. You think there'd be more people to suggest or to come out and say, yeah, I saw somebody, sitting there with a machete, or, with a box cutter, just taking chunks out? Or is it more likely that they're looking at the degradation of the pool and saying, wow, look at this, check out that area, holy shit, look at the green fucking diarrhea water, look at the blue paint floating around and the chips and shit. But again, he goes on.
The reflecting pool. Now, we haven't been able to verify the video. But
You don't say. You haven't been able to verify the video. You think with 414 people in the general vicinity, this guy actually looks like he's wearing, I don't know if you can make it out, but almost looks like he's got a high vis vest on. So I don't know, a national parks worker, a police officer within, what did you say? Maybe 40 feet, 30 feet, something like that.
Look, June 19th, a male, blue shirt.
Yep, look at him.
Reaches in, stays there for a little while.
Yep.
He goes back down, comes back up multiple times. What's he doing? Then
Again, probably the same thing that thousands of other people have been doing, like reporters, like Jonathan Karl, like the Swedish reporter that's on video, sticking her hand into the pool and doing the same exact thing. Hey, look at the fucking green diarrhea shit water that everybody's talking about. Hey, look at the algae everybody's talking about. Hey, look at the blue paint coming off the fucking bottom of this thing within 2 days that everybody's talking about. Like, what do you think you have here? You know what I mean? And again, when was the pool finished? Hold on. When was the reflecting pool work complete? I think it was the 8th, right? If I'm not mistaken. Let me know in the chat if I'm wrong for a second here. Maybe I am. No, it was the 4th. It was even earlier. So the most recent renovations. Oh no, it was the 8th. It was the 8th because they were completed on the 4th, but then the pool was refilled by the 9th. So it was the 8th. Right. So exactly as is suspected. But, Jesse Waters here somehow thinks that on the 19th, we're going to reverse time here. And the things that were happening, all the problems that we were seeing well before the 19th was somehow created. And, we can attribute it all the way back to this guy here, who we still don't know what he was doing. Right. Don't know what he's doing. Don't know if he had a knife. Don't know he had anything. Don't know if he took anything away from the scene. Nothing. Have absolutely nothing but this video. But you can tell Donald Trump made a phone call to the U.S. Department of the Interior and was like, listen, I don't know what the fuck you guys are doing down there. I don't know what footage you have, but you better get me something that looks like something. Get somebody sticking their hand in that water and we'll, I don't know, superimpose a knife in their hand or something. I'm not sure, but you got to do something. Give me fucking something. You know what I mean? And Jesse Waters went immediately onto his show to be like, yeah, I'll help you propagandize that shortly.
White tote bag. She reaches in. Needs a better angle.
Look, the workers are right here. Look at the workers in the fucking reflecting pool. Here, I'll get out of the way. You guys can see clearly here, right? The workers are in the reflecting pool. They're right there, clearly within, I don't know, I'd say 50, 60 feet on one side and probably about 25 feet on the other side here. You know what I mean? So you'd think if somebody was just tearing a 170-foot slice or a 250-foot slice or a 350-foot slice or anything, they would have noticed it, called it out, called somebody over, said something. I don't know, just a guess.
Bag down, dives in a little deeper. And we don't know who these people are. No one was stopped or questioned by police, so no arrests. And we don't have the police report yet. But what are they doing with their hands in the pool? Are they cutting the lining? Are they peeling off the paint? And we don't know if they're committing a crime. They'll probably tell you.
Now, hold on. Now, because I have to show you this, guys. Now, what time is it? 1:30. I'm probably going to run out of time for doing this, but let me see if I could just do, was it on Instagram? Now I'm going to forget for a second here. I think it was on Instagram. Let me take this out of the way. We'll open up another page here. I think it was Instagram. If I don't get it on the first search, we'll just go back. But there was somebody that put out a video basically detailing what happened with like the degradation of the sides of the pools and why the, the chemicals that they originally poured in there were going to like help like, speed up the process that was already in place. Let me see here. Reflecting pool. Peroxide. I'll do science maybe. And like I said, if that doesn't pull it up. What do you got here? What do you got for me, old Grammy? Was it this one? Oh, it might be this one. I think it's this one. Let me throw this on the screen. First try.
Trump, did the hydrogen peroxide poured into the reflecting pool to kill the algae that was stopping people from appreciating the nice blue paint cause the paint to peel off in chunks? Yeah, probably. Can they fix it without draining the pool? No, probably not. So this is hydrogen peroxide, H2O2. And the reason why it is stored in a container that doesn't let light in is because when UV from the sun hits that bond between the two O's, this happens. And now we have two hydroxyl radicals. So these are a type of free radical, which you've probably heard of if you're like a health nut. Free radicals are bad because they can oxidize basically everything. When you oxidize something, you steal an electron from it. So the hydrogen peroxide breaks down into this, and then it steals an electron.
So again, I'll link this in the chat here. This is Greg from Video One. He goes on to explain that the fact that it's trying to steal an electron from something means that it could steal the electron from the algae, thus killing the algae, which was the intended use of that. But it could also go on to steal the electrons from the polymer, of the rubber base, the rubber bottom, of the adhesion, the stuff that they use to adhere the rubber to the bottom of that, thus making the bottom peel up. And as he goes on to state, you can see in some of the more recent pictures, there's like that blue outline, right, where the middle of the reflecting pool looks that green bullshit diarrhea color still, but there's like a small portion just on the very perimeter of the pool that looks to be a little bit more blue, and that's because that's where they poured in the hydrogen peroxide, was around the edges, and it didn't seem to circulate, and then that kind of concentration of that peroxide thus created this effect where like that much concentrate went into damage and degrade the sides even further, so thus creating a bigger problem, right? But like I said, I'll link this real quick. Let me get the link to this, and I'll throw it in the chat. Copy, so you guys can check this out, just in case you want to catch the rest of that. But he goes on to explain like the science basis behind everything that was going on, and like I said, that picture. But let's see if we can dive back into Jesse Waters' ridiculous video that he's got there. Not to mention this part too. So not to mention and bring up this portion of the whole thing, which is the fact that Donald Trump took the beast and like all of his really heavily armored fucking vehicles and drove right over that sumbitch. You know what I mean? Just after it was finished. Experts point out to faulty application, inadequate service preparation, and mechanical stress of Trump's motorcade driving directly through the newly painted reflecting pool as a possible culprit. Like, you don't say. Maybe that would have like some degradation that would go on to be like something you wouldn't want to do. Like, I don't paint houses and then go on to drive a vehicle on the side of the house to see what fucking happens. You know what I mean? Like, you don't paint the roads and then before it's done, like go, before the tar's set, before the fucking paint or the lines are set, go and drive your vehicles over them and see what happens. It's like, I don't know, there might be a problem with that, but you can see here, multiple vehicles, police vehicles, Trump's motorcade, just fucking driving over the newly painted surface there. But, you think that may have led to, I don't know, some of the degradation of the bottom of the pool, and maybe why we're seeing some of these chunks fly up, right? I'm sure it's going to be hard to pinpoint, but, logical minds will suspect, right? Logical minds will suspect. But there's a little bit more from this idiot here from Jesse Waters, and then we'll move on.
I tell you, they dropped their wedding ring. The Department of Interior says this, quote, in the video, you're seeing two suspects observed destroying and removing a piece of the lining and attempting destruction of the lining.
I'm sorry, did you guys see any of that anywhere in that video? Did you see that pinpointed? Or did you see that actually like distinctly being obvious and observable in any of this footage that you're now seeing on your screen? I'm just curious. Just curious, because you can see them in there. He's filtered, moving his hand around. Could be doing anything. Could be doing absolutely fucking anything at that point. You know what I mean? And he goes on here. I think this is the Jonathan Kyle report where he touches the paint.
That American flag blue paint, it's peeling away. The $14 million job to redo the bottom of this reflecting pool is falling apart before our eyes. The algae is still here, but the paint appears to be going away.
Maybe the contractors screwed up the pool, and they're fixing it. But we have a hunch there was also foul play. And we could be wrong.
And maybe the guy that was hired not off, merit-based, data or anything like that, but solely because he was a fucking, a donor to the Trump campaign, a guy that had been arrested previously, a guy that literally owns a company called fucking Greenwater, right? And I mean, he pretty much delivered on that request as far as that's concerned. But you're thinking that may have been like a small contribution to the fact that this was done poorly and wasn't done right to begin with. The fact that they had no knowledge of working on historical monuments, and basically the only thing they ever did was work on fucking Trump's pools and some of his little resorts that he's got going on. You think this was maybe a big leap of faith here, and that kind of filters down to every other aspect of his administration where people are getting substantial contracts or positions of power inside of the government that have absolutely no qualifications to be there whatsoever. You think that's kind of like a through line that we could see within this administration here? But again, that is Jesse Waters trying to push the Department of the Interior's bullshit there, where they say now they've got him red-handed, and it's in broad daylight within 25 feet of people working on the pool that this all happened. Apparently, not in the midst of the night, not in the clutches of darkness, but broad daylight, thousands of people around, people working on the pool, fucking police officers circling, cameras everywhere, and still that's the best that they could come up with, apparently, with all of the vandals that have been suspected and arrested and ticketed and cited throughout and around the reflecting pool. Now, again, to the extent in which they're now putting up fencing, right? Let me see. I'll put this up there. Fencing. Ready? Check this out. There you go. Just so you don't think I'm lying here. Fencing going up around the reflecting pool is TMZ. So again, good things happening all the time. Everything Trump touches definitely doesn't turn to shit immediately, right? But like I said, the reflecting pool is one of Donald Trump's big things that he's freaking out about. Like I said, the SAVE Act was another thing that he's freaking out about this morning. And again, this whole Iran situation is another thing that he's going to be freaking out about. It did see there is a little progress that has to be reported. It did come out, or the IAEA director, the head of the IAEA, did come out and say that it was stipulated and signed to that the IAEA will be able to go into Iran and inspect their facilities. They didn't stay, or I haven't heard a date or when that's likely to happen. But again, we're going back to what we had in the JCPOA. So crawling back to just like a minute fraction of some of the things that were already stipulated, already afforded to us, and already agreed upon in the JCPOA. Meanwhile, we didn't have to lose 13 soldiers. We didn't have to, expend and waste billions of dollars of munitions. We didn't have to destroy basically all of the U.S. bases in the Middle East. We didn't have to hand over the amount and the, exponential billions of dollars that Donald Trump is going to be affording and rewarding Iran, whether it's the frozen assets, whether it's the little fund, the $300 billion fund that they're going to set up, whether it's the ability to control and charge tolls through the Strait of Hormuz, the relaxing of sanctions, the ability to sell oil, all of these things. I think they were talking about some like $5 billion a month that the Iranians will be able to profit or, make off of their oil sales alone. So again, there's a lot of ways in which that Iranians are going to be able to enrich themselves. They're going to become more powerful on the international stage. More countries are going to have to work with them. They're going to be signing agreements with them. All of these things now, things that, again, didn't come out of and we didn't have to stipulate to and we didn't see the losses of during the JCPOA. But this was a little compilation that CNN put together, a side-by-side of J.D. Vance talking about the credit, talking about the IAEA and the inspections that he went out there to tout as some like historical advancement. And then what they did was they put Barack Obama's rhetoric and statements on there of the last time that we had this in place and when they had already agreed to this and all of the other things that they had agreed to well before Donald Trump enacted this war with Benjamin Netanyahu. This is only about 40 seconds. Again, a side-by-side of J.D. Vance and Barack Obama.
This is probably what we're most excited about as Americans. The Iranians have agreed to invite IAEA inspectors back into their country. That is a major milestone for the American people and the first step in permanently denuclearizing or permanently ending a nuclear weapons program in Iran.
For decades, inspectors will have access to Iran's entire nuclear supply chain, from the uranium mines and mills where they get raw materials to the centrifuge production facilities where they make machines to enrich it. And under the terms of the deal, inspectors will have the permanent ability to inspect any suspicious sites in Iran.
So again, it's almost like, we're not even remotely close to, but in some way the Trump administration is trying to just, again, keep their head above water and trying to compare themselves to the JCPOA. It's much worse. Anything that the outcome that we've seen here is much worse, but somehow they're trying to pat themselves on the back for doing like a fucking fraction of what we saw accomplished during the JCPOA. So I thought that was pretty well done there by CNN, putting those two things together to let everybody know this isn't like a historical first, right? This isn't something that the Trump administration managed to get the Iranians to agree to for the first time in history. Like, we're going back to square one. Right now, we're going back to 2015 to try to figure out why they ripped the JCPOA up in the first place and didn't have anything to replace it with, and then decided to enact this war while they were involved in negotiations. And look at where we are now. But I thought that was, like I said, pretty well done. There was also this that I wanted to talk about between what's in there, Maggie Haberman and Jonathan Swan, who was making their media rounds talking about their book. Again, there's a lot of things that, a lot of people have been saying, rightfully so, about people that like have this information sitting there that the American people should readily know about, information and details about the president of the United States that should come out fucking immediately so people can understand that. But no, holding them back in their journals and, making sure that, that stays hidden from the American people and the public at large so they can, release their fucking book some months down the line. Like, it's sickening to see this shit happen. But some of the things that the book at least sheds light on, again, is exactly what everybody already knew: the erratic behavior of Donald Trump, his aging, how his aging has again gone to directly affect how people treat him, the things that they have to do around him, his mental decline, like all these things we already knew. But the little tidbits and information and facts and pieces of details from behind the scenes probably would have been great to know right on the spot, like at the moment that it happens. But this isn't the first time that people have like held back to write their books, all of this like really poignant and prominent information and important information that people should know about to make decisions about who's representing them in their government. But there's just a couple minutes of this where again they're on with CNN talking about some of the portions of this book. I think this kind of touches on Trump's health a little bit, so I just figured I'd play a couple minutes of this. Appreciate you guys if you could hit that like button, subscribe to the channel. We're trying to get to 25,000 subscribers right here at the Little Politics, the little podcast that could, Blunt Politics here. So hit that like button, subscribe to the channel. I appreciate you guys. And like I said, let's just check out a little bit of some of the details coming out of this book here.
So I started with actually a very small passage from the book. There are huge, big themes here, which I'll get to. But one of the things I loved about it is all the little tidbits and details of things I just didn't know. That I learned as I was reading it. I didn't know the president was having a hard time hearing or his hearing was fading. How else has his age manifested itself in this term?
So one of the things that we talk about in the book is how aides are aware that he is older. What exactly goes on with Donald Trump's health is one of the mysteries, right, of the last 10 years. And he is very secretive about his health. We also talk about how this is a White House. Despite these displays of transparency, they're very good at keeping secrets when they want to. This is always one.
Rondo, you're 100% right. You're 100% right. And I got the evidence here to prove it. I got the peril. You got the landslide. You got the frankly, we did win. Again, to prove exactly what I'm talking about of all this pertinent, prominent information that we should know about this shit. And again, just kind of holding it back so you can make a lot of money on your books. You know what I mean? It's just, it's sick shit, to tell you the truth. It's sick shit.
But he is moving differently. He has the swelling in the ankles, which, he was so irritated about the coverage of that he had the press secretary go out and talk about. And most people in the White House thought it was a little strange to be going out and talking about cankles, as we write. But he's very, very sensitive about his appearance. The hearing is an issue. They've all been aware of it for a while, and it's been happening for a while. The fact that he just is is older.
And again, not to take away from the fact that this is a very, very well-researched book. I mean, to the point where the administration thinks that they have like some secret tapes, like people were able to record some secret, talks in places that they're not allowed to be able to record secret talks. So that's kind of how well this was kind of researched and how many people behind the scenes actually talked about what was going on. So not to take away from the information that comes, it's basically just the fact that, we got to wait till the book's written to figure out just how demented our president really is, right? So to learn that he's now deaf and dumb, right? So, you know what I mean? So he can't hear a fucking thing, which is, been pretty evident considering, all the times he's kind of misheard what the question was or asked the reporters to repeat what they said. They go on to detail that's a lot of the reason why they held some of the press conferences in the Oval Office, A, because he doesn't have to stand and he can sit his fat ass in the chair, and two, because apparently the acoustics are better in the Oval Office and it helps him hear things a little bit better. But it's just it's a double-edged sword as far as this is concerned.
80, it is harder to mask it, and so they are all aware of it. What exactly that portends, they don't know. But he is not a young man.
Big picture here. One of the main themes here is just how different he is and is approaching this second term than the first term. And it's summed up, toward the very end of the book, your interview with the president, where he yells at you guys but speaks loudly and firmly with you as you're leaving, telling you to remember, quote, essentially, I won every effing time. So, Jonathan, what does that mean? That idea that he is convinced that he is a winner here. How has that manifested itself in the second term in ways it didn't necessarily in the first?
Well, one other thing that happened when we went and saw the president in March was he handed us a document that he wanted us to read. And it was a 2-page document that he said was written by a historian. And it opens with a statement, Donald Trump is the most powerful man who's ever existed on the planet by far. And then it goes on to compare him to Mao, Stalin, Hitler, Alexander the Great, the Caesars, Genghis Khan, Attila the Hun, William the Conqueror, all the sort of liberal Democrats of, history. And Trump wanted us to understand it was not there was no mention of a moral comparison. It was that he had power that no one has ever had before. The US has the most powerful military, economy, technology, but that he's willing to use it. And that was the thing he wanted to impress upon us. And what we had...
Great. So he's deaf and dumb. He's deranged. He's a lunatic. And he thinks himself as an autocrat and a dictator at the helm of the United States military power. So again, handing reporters coming to interview you a 2-page document comparing yourself to Hitler, Mao, Stalin, Attila the Hun, fucking Genghis Khan. Not great people, to say the least. I think that's kind of, clear. Right, obvious as far as the people that we're talking about there, not really who you'd want to relate yourself to as far as historical, people, you know what I'm saying? But again, it's not the first time that they've done this, because this reminded me of a post I did for Midas Touch a few years ago, where we kind of caught them in the midst of their little educational reform and who exactly they wanted to portray and represent in their historical educational reform that they wanted to take place. Listen to who they stayed here. Listen to who this guy at one of these Trump gatherings. I think this might be at like a TPUSA or one of their dumb right-wing gatherings here covered by RSBN. Listen to what he says and who he thinks they need to get back to as far as the educational teachings in history. Listen to this.
Basically, this is an evangelistic movement on the left, and that's what's happening. It's indoctrination. I mean, they're proselytizing to the next generation. And what we're discovering as parents and conservatives is, wait a second, education really is evangelism. So if you don't control education, you cannot control the future. And Stalin knew that. Mao knew that, right? Hitler knew that. We have to get that back for conservative values.
Stalin knew that. Hitler knew that. Mao knew that. And that's what we have to get back to as far as conservative values, right? So talking about saying the quiet part out loud and who they look back to as far as historical, people and people of significance in history and who they want to represent and portray. They say it out loud. Don't take my word for it. I didn't say it. I've rightly compared them to Nazis and Hitler and Stalin and Mao many, many times, but that's them saying it, right? So this is giving me the ammunition to say that. This is why we say that shit about these people, because that's what they espouse, right? The bigoted, hateful, racist, fucking Nazi-like beliefs that they have. This is why when we talk about it. Donald Trump handing Maggie Haberman and Jonathan Swan a two-page piece of paper comparing himself to Hitler, Stalin, Mao, Attila the Hun, Genghis Khan, people that have killed millions, responsible for millions and millions and millions of deaths and pain and suffering, well beyond that. You know what I mean? And that's who they consistently compare themselves to. And then they blame you and they get pissed off and they turn into snowflakes and they start bitching and complaining every time that you call them Nazis. Okay? Well, this is fucking why. Not only what Donald Trump portrays himself as, sees himself as, but what you guys have been saying for quite some time. What you guys want to get back, get the conservative educational system back to. The foundings of Hitler, Stalin, and Mao. Like, what? Jesus fucking Christ. Like, if you didn't say the quiet part out loud anymore, obviously, or if they didn't say it anymore, obviously, I'm not sure, like, what else we need to show you guys as far as that is concerned. But let's go into the last portion here. I know I'm quickly running out of time, so we'll dive into a little bit of what's been taking place. Preston Stewart has a video here. Ukraine just found out Russia's weak point, and this has been a pretty consistent theme on this show, not only on this show, but in the reporting here, detailing what's been going on and the active engagements in targeting and the I don't know what you'd want to call it, an offensive that the Ukrainians have been under and engaging in as far as the Crimea is concerned, and trying to cut off Crimea, cut off the land bridges, cut off the Kerch Bridge. We've talked about the attacks on the pontoon bridge. We talked about the attacks on the other bridges that were necessary for the Russians to utilize and get supplies into Crimea. And I think it's having a bigger impact than even we are portraying here. I think it's now becoming even more apparent that Russia doesn't really have a response. Okay, you don't really see what is portrayed as a victorious military, a victorious army, somebody that has more military power, military might, and obviously, as they would say, have the momentum in this fight, unable at every turn to protect their most vital supply systems, to protect their most vital supply routes. That's not what we're seeing. We're seeing continued destruction by the Ukrainians, continued degradation of the supply routes, of the supply vehicles at a rapid rate. And it's only getting worse and worse for the Russians by the day, right? So there's a little bit of Preston Stewart. We only have a few minutes left in the show, but should be enough for him to kind of detail how effective this has been and just how stunned the military Russian bloggers are at how ineffective the Russians' response has been. Right, how unable they are to stop or to mitigate the damages now being seen here by the the Ukrainian drone attacks. So let's just see if we can dive into a couple minutes of this. I'll speed it up. Maybe we can get into a little bit more. I appreciate you guys. Hit that like button. Slava Ukraini. Thank you guys for helping out with the Help 99 NAFO 69 Stiffer Brigade campaign. Links in the chat. Fabulous mods putting the links in the chat in there. So again, $1, a $5, a $10 all goes to help. We're at 75% of our goal to help send a NAFO 3.0 truck to the 3rd Operational Battalion, the Artillery Platoon, and it's only with your help that we're going to get to the rest of that 25% of the goal. So thank you guys so much for sharing that out there, contributing yourselves, and just sticking along with this show as we cover all of these very important issues throughout the world. So here we go. Let's see what we can get into here with Preston Stewart detailing that Ukraine just found Russia's weak point. Here we go.
So we need to start thinking about what happens to Russia if they cannot protect themselves from Ukrainian strikes, which is crazy, but that's where we are. I mean, it's one thing for a single drone to slip through here or there, but we are seeing dozens of strikes every single day against high-value targets in areas that Russia knows it has to protect, and it isn't, or maybe they can't. This is genuinely a time in the war unlike anything we have seen over the past 4 years, so let's get into it. In fact, just last night, the Ukrainian SSO...
You see what just happened in that video, too? So you got two vehicles you can see here. One looks to be like a security vehicle, right? Supposed to be protecting what is a resupply vehicle. Who knows what this resupply vehicle is carrying? Could be fuel, could be food, could be ammunition, could be whatever. Could be drones, parts for drones, whatever it may be, trying to make its way to the front, to Crimea, to its soldiers. Here's the security vehicle, meant to probably tag along either in front or behind the resupply vehicle in an attempt to shoot down any Ukrainian drones that may try to target this vehicle. Well, at the beginning of this video, you can see there's definitely somebody in the back of this truck banging away with the weapon that's definitely mounted to the back of the vehicle. doesn't have any success, sees that the Ukrainian drone has made it through its defenses, and immediately abandons his post. Immediately just jumps off that vehicle, knowing that the most likely target will be the resupply vehicle and not likely the the security vehicle or whatever they want to call it. They're probably going to go after the resupply and then afterwards go after the security vehicle, but he doesn't see it that way. He thinks he's going to be the first one hit. So you can see this guy here. You can see him banging away on the assault weapon that he's got there, and then watch him just jump off.
And it isn't, or maybe.
So you can see him firing.
This is genuinely a time in the war, unlike anything we've seen over the past 4 years. So let's get into it. In fact,
takes his fat ass off the back of that vehicle about as quickly as he possibly can, takes his rifle and fucking hightails it into the woods. Right,
nice. Ukrainian
leaving
SSO.
that Russian resupply vehicle just a sitting duck for the Ukrainian drone.
Or Special Operations Forces released this footage highlighting this issue exactly. They said the railway bridge over the North Crimean Canal in Crimea no longer exists. They say both the railway track was destroyed and one of the spans collapsed. At the same time, the underground fighters of the SSO resistance movement reported the arrival of special railway repair equipment. The second phase of the mission was then launched. On the night of June 23rd, SSO drones hit both the repair equipment and the remaining parts of the bridge. For context,
I love it. So the bridge was struck, right? The railway was just disabled, or it was broken somehow, and then they sent in a repair crew to try to fix the rail. And then what the Ukrainians did is they struck that repair crew, thus creating more destruction, and I'm probably assuming creating more damage to that railway.
Next, they say this was a strategic military logistical artery of the Russians. The object was part of the transport corridor for the movement of goods, resources, and military material assets in two key directions from the Russian Federation.
And that looks to be the after effect, right? That looks to be, you can see the mumbo jumbled cars here. It looks to be just a bunch of twisted metal.
Crimea to support the southern grouping of forces, and also within the peninsula to maintain the functioning of the military infrastructure there. The reason this is so key to what we're talking about here is we've got one of the few rail bridge crossings into Crimea. A peninsula is already very much at risk at being cut off. And we have seen now for months Ukraine carrying out this isolation operation that in Russian media, Russian military officials are talking about. It's not a secret. Rail lines are some of the few access points to the peninsula. So Russia knew it was important, or you would think they knew it was important. It still got hit. So it wasn't protected enough, right? Maybe there was some air defense there. It didn't work. Ukraine was able to hit it. Then when they go to repair it, whatever they did.
We've brought up this before too. It's not like it takes a military strategist. You don't need to be a Navy SEAL or a fucking Green Beret or somebody that studies military movements or anything to see what are likely to become some of the targets to coming up from the Ukrainians by the Ukrainians, to see what they're trying to do, to see that they're going after Crimea, going after the resupply, that areas around the Kerch Bridge and the Kerch Bridge itself are going to become targets. All of these things that we know the Ukrainians are doing here in the United States and elsewhere, people paying attention. Obviously, the Russians can see what their intent is, what their goals are, what they're trying to do, but they just don't have the resources or the time, the energy, the manpower to mitigate that. They just cannot seem to stop it. And again, as the Ukrainians continue to, stock up on drones and drone technology continues to advance, this is only going to get worse. This isn't going to get any better. There's going to be more drones in the skies. They're going to be more capable drones. They're going to be able to fly further. They're going to be able to deliver, larger payloads. All of these things that the Russians are likely to see in the upcoming days, weeks, months, and God forbid, years of this war, if it persists. They're now starting to feel the effects, and they know what's to come. They know what the Ukrainians are going for, and they just don't have the knowledge, manpower, know-how to try to stop it. Right. So we've seen the Ukrainians go to take out the Pansirs in and around the Kerch Bridge. So again, softening up the defenses around there. Again, getting good intel and information about who reacts, where they react, where they're stationed, how long it takes for them to do so. What kind of retaliation comes from their strikes in the area, so they can mitigate whatever the Russian response would be. There's a lot of good intel and information that comes from not even attacking the Kerch Bridge, but again, softening up the defenses in the area as well. So, it's becoming more and more evident that there's really not much the Russians can do. And this seems to be, something that's going to continue to get worse for them, basically.
To plus up that air defense or replace whatever was there was inadequate. That's if they did anything at all. And the sensitive location that was already hit by Ukraine once was then targeted again with the repair equipment being hit at the same time. And the fact that Russia cannot stop these strikes is incredibly telling. We've seen this at oil refineries in recent days as well, where Ukraine will carry out a number of strikes. Some of these have been hit 3 or 4 times, I think, in the span of a week. And if it gets hit once, that
and again,
should be
add in Moscow, add in St. Petersburg, add in Ust-Luga, add in Primorsk, add in, again, all of the different oil refineries that have been hit. In some cases, I'm saying double-digit times have they been struck. So you would think after the 4th, 5th, 6th time that these oil refineries have been targeted by the Ukrainians, if the Russians did, in fact, have the manpower, have the equipment, have the military power to be able to defend against these areas, to defend these areas against Ukrainian drone attack, they would. But that's not what we're seeing. They're unable to even protect the Moscow oil refinery, which is, again, supposed to be inside one of the most heavily defended areas, not only inside of Russia, but as the Russians would say, the most heavily defended airspace in the world, right? So we've seen the efficacy of the Ukrainian drones in striking areas all throughout Russia, definitely inside of occupied Ukraine as well. But unfortunately, we've run out of time today on the early show. Big thanks to you guys for making this show possible. Big thanks to you guys for making all of our fundraising efforts possible and heading over to bostonbrian.com, clicking that link for the merch site. We just dropped a new $5 summer sale. So we got $5 off all of the shirts there at Blunt Politics, the merch site there. You can head over to bostonbrian.com. You got a link there that takes you to the Blunt Politics merch shop. And again, you can utilize that $5 off anything on there for the summer, or as long as that coupon lasts. But it's a summer sale, so check that out. Appreciate you guys. You can also check out the discounts that we have for Patreon members. So if you go over to patreon.com/BostonBrian, you can check out the 3 great tiers on there. You can sign up for YouTube memberships here just underneath me. And I appreciate you guys. I'll kick it over to my main man, Jeff, over there on this space. Shout out to the mods over there. Shout out to Matt. And make sure you stick around here if you're in the chat for Blunt Politics and you donated or sent in a Venmo. We still have to thank you guys. So shout out to you guys. I'll take it over. I'll toss it over to my main man, Jeff, over there. Much appreciated. Thank you, guys. All right. Thanks, guys, over here as well. Again, the best chat on earth. Appreciate you guys for sticking with me through the early show here. What do you say we dive into a couple of the people that sent in a Venmo that were nice enough to contribute to the show? Again, $1 or $2 is all we say, a lot of which, like I said, just think of everybody in the chat were to kick in $1 or $2, how much it would boost us up in what we're able to do, the production quality, equipment that we're able to use, that sort of thing, being able to travel throughout the country and report on these different issues. I would love to be down there at Delaney Hall reporting on all of the brutality and what ICE is doing down there and all of the the ridiculously harmful things that are happening to the prisoners down there. And then again, all throughout the country, I'd love to be able to take trips to Ukraine and do some more on the ground reporting and talking to soldiers and talking to citizens there and how important it is for people to continue to support them and how grateful they are at the support from different communities like this. All of those things that I would love the chance to be able to do is only going to happen if we continue to grow this channel. If we continue to reach past 25K, 30K, 40K, 50K and beyond, when people start recognizing, how much weight we have behind our punches and how much, we can get in, kind of interject our opinions into the zeitgeist. It would be very, very cool to see that. And again, like I said, it's only with your help and contributions that we're going to be able to achieve those goals and those dreams that we have here at Blunt Politics. So thank you to everybody making that possible. Let's see. People on the Venmo side of things today are going to say, first and foremost, thank you to Dame. Appreciate you, Dame C. I found this in my couch. Wow, you must be loaded. If you're finding $10 in the couch, I'd hate to see what you're finding in your pockets when you pull the clothes out of the dryer. You know what I mean? But no, thank you so much, Dame. Very much appreciated for everything you do for this channel. Very much enjoy seeing you at all of the Zooms that we have. And again, seeing people here for a long period of time supporting the channel means that we're at least doing something right. You know what I mean? Not saying that there's not places that we could work upon, not saying that there's things we need to improve. But we must be doing something right if, you guys have been around for this long. So thank you so much to Dame. Thank you to Brian H. as well, as usual, sending over $10 on Venmo. Thank you so much. Shout out to you. Here's a little something to help with whatever you need. Slava Ukraine will be listening while painting interior walls. Too hot for outside projects. And I don't blame you as far as that's concerned. That's a very smart move, Bri. Not only to leave that inside for a day just like this, but to be smart enough to be able to recognize that it's a day that you should be inside. So much appreciated, Bri. W's in the chat for you guys. And then again, like I said, over the last couple days, Peter L, much appreciated. Brian H again. Thank you to Joe H. Thank you to Teague. Thank you to Victoria and Tom. Thank you to Karen and Roger. It's really cool to see that you guys continue to contribute to the show. Geneva as well, Allison, all of the fantastic people, Nancy, Sarah G. Much appreciated over the last couple of days for keeping this show running. Again, this is the only way that we do survive. We don't have any ad reads. We don't, fill the show up with different fucking commercials. We don't sell you any green juice or mattresses that we've never used, but is going to tell you that it changed my ever-loving life, right? And you guys need to pay $1,000 for that and use my QR code. None of that shit happens here. We don't charge for Substack. None of that. None of the content is hidden behind a paywall. You will never have to pay out of pocket to see any of the content that we produce. I find that to be utterly disgusting when people have been supporting you for years and years and years, and then all of a sudden you're going to do, something that puts it behind a paywall where if you don't have $5 or $10 or $2 or $20 that you're not going to be able to see that piece of content. I find that to be disgusting. So not something that we're going to do over here. So thank you guys for recognizing the independentness of this platform and how much we rely solely upon your contributions and help making this last and being able to put food on the table and keep the lights on and maybe at someday have a place to stay. That would be fantastic as well. But no, thank you guys to everybody on Venmo. Let's say we hop over here onto the YouTube side of things. Holy shit. How did I miss this? Jeff, thank you so much, brother. Oh my goodness. Sorry that I missed this when you put this in earlier. But thank you so much, my friend. You can use this for the NAFO or the reflecting pool. Oh my goodness, Jeff. Thank you so much for that $100. Very, very nice contribution from you. Very much appreciated. Hugely substantial. Will go a long, long way to help this channel. So thank you so much. Shout out to Jeff in the chat. W's Jeff in the chat there. Much, much appreciated. Thank you, Bry Guy, not only utilizing the Venmo, but he's everywhere today. It's tough when Hal and you are on at the same time. Well, we shouldn't be on at the same. Well, yes, today we are. My apologies. We are. Today is the one show that we are on at the same time. That was kind of unavoidable. We're doing this early show in conjunction with this space. This was kind of the available slot. That didn't, get in the way, not get in the way, but conflict with the other shows that I do. So I recognize that, but, we always have the late night show tonight at 8:30 in case anybody misses the early show. You can always check us out tonight, Wednesday, 8:30 after Hal's show. So again, we don't step on anybody's toes. But thank you, Bra Guy, for being here for as long as you can. Thank you to No Money G. Fuck Trump. Fuck MAGA. As always, fire show. Pound to you guys right back at you. No Money G. And I do second everything that you said as far as that comment is concerned. Big shout out to you. Thank you for being here. Thank you, Nola, as well, for the $2 contribution. Shout out to you. And then, Nola, thank you so much. You sold me on no commercials. Yeah, see, again, it seems to be a theme now of people on YouTube. Again, either hiding stuff behind paywalls or utilizing the ad revenue, whatever it may be. But we try to do things what we see to be the correct way to do things, where nobody has the ability to say what we can and cannot talk about. I don't have to be afraid at losing an advertiser if I espouse some beliefs or opinions that they don't agree with or it doesn't fit with their company's practices, anything like that. I just feel like it's a slippery slope. And maybe, hey, one day maybe there are companies out there that we know and love and recognize that do the right thing and, support not only democracy, but support different issues that we're, very, very passionate about throughout the globe. I'm sure there are those out there, but again, I just feel like it's a very slippery slope, and I'd like to be able to do it, again, with just this, the independent community that we've built here. But, like I said, we'll have to make some changes if in fact it comes to that. But I appreciate you guys for sticking with me this long, and I'll be back on tonight, 8:30. So if you missed a little bit of this show, don't worry about it. We got a 2-hour episode coming up for you tonight at 8:30 on the East Coast, 5:30 on the West Coast, and somewhere in between, depending on where you live. My name is Brian. This is the Blunt Politics Podcast, the little political podcast that could and keeps growing. So I appreciate you guys. Stay loud, stay proud, stay aggressive. Get the fuck out of your seats, please. Get into the streets, start protesting, start speaking up any way that you possibly can, whether that's in your community, whether that's at the Capitol, whether that's at the State House, whether that's calling your representatives and calling your senators. Get involved, get active, because, we're the people that pay for these things directly. We are the first people. We are the first line of defense here. So I appreciate you. Make sure you hit that like button on the way out. Subscribe to the channel. And I will see you guys this evening, 8:30, like I said, for a 2-hour episode of the Blunt Politics Podcast. I'll see you tonight. Thank you, guys. Much appreciated, Jeff, for that really substantial contribution, my friend. And thank you to Nola, thank you to No Money G, thank you to Brian, and everybody else who was nice enough to contribute. Damon, much appreciated, guys. Thank Thank you. Thank you, Pops. Appreciate you, big guy. Oh my goodness. Thank you, Victoria. Hold on. Time out. Time out. Time out. We're back. We're back at it. I can't let this.
In a time of universal.
That's what I wanted to do. This is I can't let this slide. I got to say thank you because Victoria Spalding B. I won't give the whole thing out, but thank you so much for your generous contribution. Another $50 sent on Venmo. Very, very nice of you. She says, keeping it real. So much appreciated, Victoria. Hopefully I didn't do too much doxing as far as that's concerned. I'm always worried on Venmo. I never know how much you guys want me to divulge. So I typically stick with the initial, the first initial for the last name. That way I don't hurt anybody or put anybody in danger or anything. But thank you so much, Victoria. Very much appreciated, along with Damon and Bri. And thank you so much to Jeff and everybody else. I really, really do appreciate you guys so much. I am so eternally grateful for you guys making this a possibility, and the fact that it wasn't the stupidest decision that I've ever made to give up my plumbing job, to give up my plumbing career because of how passionately I felt about these political issues and how much I saw that regardless of how hard you work or I work, that the government could readily take that away and could rightly step on your trample on your rights and make it so that was utterly useless. So again, I found it very important for us to speak up on these issues, and I just thank you for supporting me in this venture. So again, thank you, Victoria. Thank you, Dame. Thank you, Bri Guy. Thank you, Peter. Thank you, Jeff. Thank you, Nola, and everybody else that was responsible for sending in and contributing a little bit to the chat today. Very much appreciated. And like I said, very grateful for that. So I just wanted to make sure I pop on that. Nobody's going to be sending in anything and not get the recognition that you guys deserve. So much appreciated. I'm out of here. I'll see you tonight. Hey, Norma. Good to see you, Norma. Appreciate you being over there on Facebook. Thank you, Richard, for watching over there on Twitch. Make sure you donate the bits or do whatever Twitch tells you to do. Good to see you, Benny Loco. Thank you so much. Appreciate you guys. Good to see you. Thank you, Tiff. Thank you so much for the mods, as usual. Thank you, Yakov and Adam. Thank you to Rocks. Thank you to Alyosha. Thank you to everybody. Very much appreciated. Hey, what's up, Alex? Good to see you, brother. Good to see you. Sorry I missed you in there. Good to see you, man. Yes, and just in case,
Вітаю, Боксинг Брайан. Мій позивний танцор. Я представник 72-ї бригади. Дякую тобі і твоїм підписникам за цей донат, за цю чудову машину, яка буде нас возити усіх на позиції, захищати Україну і наближати перемогу. Разом усі до перемоги. Дякую.
Yeah, just in case anybody's new to the channel, this space is a YouTube channel that we simulcast to Wednesdays at 1 p.m. They have a fantastic channel that is a coalition of different progressive, liberal content creators. Great place for you to check out different people that you may not be introduced to. So check out this space, absolutely. I'm very appreciative of being able to work with them as well. And thank you to Mark and Elizabeth as well. Who else? Thank you to everybody that made this show possible in any way, shape, or form. I love you. I appreciate you. I respect the shit out of you. right, I'll see you guys tonight. Afternoon, guys. Appreciate you.
The big, fat, sloppy United States.